Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with AzChats number 74. AzChats video is more podcasty type of video than a visual video. It's something for you to listen to and not necessarily watch. So this is the perfect time to crank me up in the background and get on with something around the house. Because it's an AzChats, it may contain some fruity language. That's language of an adult nature. So if you are offended by such things, probably not the video for you. Now, today's AzChats is quite a special one because this Thursday, May the 4th be with you and all that jazz, is the final day of 1 week in WoW. So I'm actually recording about my experiences in the past 6 or 7 days after returning to the World of Warcraft with a 6-month absence. Now, a couple of things that I need to absolutely make sure that people are fully aware of before I begin this, because people seem to like wanting to very conveniently forget this. In the 6 months that I've left the World of Warcraft, I have never felt the urge to return. This return to WoW after 6 months was an experiment of sorts. That in the 6-month absence from a game which I have spent a considerable amount of time on, I joined in March of 2007, I wanted to know, with 2 major patches, one that they themselves, Blizzard themselves, dubbed the biggest content patch they've ever done, was there anything that could tempt me to return to the game? Was there anything there that could hook me back into a game which I was hooked to? I think it's the only way that you can really express it, for such a long number of years. But I do need to stress again, I never in the 6 months that I left actually felt the urge to return. I never felt the inkling to return to the game. When I was done, it really felt like I was done with the whole business of it. The grind, the hamster wheel, as I like to call it, of content it was like a straw that broke the donkey's back. There were so many little things which had just been dripping and dripping and dripping on me. I got to the point where I just sort of like, enough's enough. And I had people saying, well, Az, why don't you just phase it out? Or why didn't you just do the odd video here and there? Why did you have to give everything up? And the point was, I didn't want to phase it out. I just wanted to get rid of it. And I didn't want to do any videos on it again because I was sick and tired of the fucking game. I was sick and tired with a whole routine of doing the same old. I was sick and tired of coming up with different arguments as to why the game wasn't performing. And yet people were just like, well, there wasn't really any good counter arguments to it. So it wasn't a matter of wanting to phase it out. It wasn't a matter of, sticking the odd video in here and there to keep my YouTube channel topped up and all of that. It was just a simple matter of I was done. I was absolutely done. And in those 6 months, I've absolutely moved away from YouTube and I've focused on the streaming element. And I've had a really good time. But after the 6-month gap, it was a perfect opportunity, like I said, especially with 2 major patches, to see if there really was anything there for me to get my teeth stuck into a game. Was it a game that I'd missed? And I did put it against other MMORPGs, which admittedly I did not sink the same amount of time into them that I did the World of Warcraft. But I always seen the urge to return to other games, especially Final Fantasy XIV, which I have sunk a considerable amount of time in, because every content patch that they do, there is something brand spanking new to the game. So that was kind of like the angle that I was coming from. So I think I've made it as clear as I am possibly ever going to make clear, so people know exactly the sort of mentality I was in when I was returning to the game. So, I think it's only fair after that little mini rant that I go into the positive aspects of the return to the World of Warcraft. And there are positive aspects to the return to the World of Warcraft. Primarily, it's very clear to see that instanced content in the World of Warcraft is excellent. And by instance content, of course, I mean raiding and I mean dungeoneering. Both of those are as good as they've ever been. I had a really good time in the Nighthold raid. I got together a group of viewers from the stream and we ran through Nighthold normal and it was a great laugh. There's about 20 or so in total, something along those lines, and it was a good laugh. There was, it was fun. I thought it was paced well. The boss fights were interesting. There were plenty of mechanics to get your teeth stuck into, even for first timers like me. Even though I'd actually tested it during the Legion Alpha and Beta, so that was a long time ago. We're talking nearly a year ago. I was testing this stuff, and it was like quite funny to realize that it had only just been released. Okay. So it was a fun experience to do that. I ran the new dungeon that was part of Tomb of Sargeras, even though I don't think that patch 7.2 should have been called Tomb of Sargeras, but that's another thing for another time. And I thought that was really nice. There was little callbacks to other dungeons, like the botany one from Tempest Keep. There was a little bit of a harken back to that. There was also a couple of elements of Wrath of the Lich King. I felt a couple of like Wrath of the Lich King-y dungeon elements in there too. And also Ockendune from Warlords of Draenor, which some people may think, oh my god, he said Warlords of Draenor, this is a triggering element. But no, dungeons have always proven to be, pretty good content in the World of Warcraft. It's just a shame they never did a lot of them. They've been cutting them out at a drastic rate. So it's nice to see. I think there are 12 at the moment in WoW. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. So the instance-based content is as good as it's ever been. Thoroughly enjoyable and genuinely enjoyable. Not just saying that to appease. I had a smile on my face when I was doing it, and I enjoyed myself when I was doing it. And isn't that the whole point of playing a goddamn fucking video game? Is that you have fun and enjoyment. That, I mean, this is going to come back later in the video and be on the flip side, I'm afraid. But isn't that the whole purpose of a video game? It's escapism. It's leaving your lives you might not feel fulfilled with, and going off and just having some fun. I'm in a fantasy land with fantasy creatures, with a fantasy body, and I'm a fantasy race, and I've got fantasy weaponry, and I'm doing all this wonderful stuff. Isn't that what it's meant to be about? And then on top of it, something a little bit more subtle, but something that was absolutely prevalent when I returned back after the 6 months absence, was the artwork. The artwork and the music in the game are so strong. The World of Warcraft has got such a unique look to it. You can always, I've said this many times, forgive me for repeating myself. I've said this many times, but you look at a screenshot of the World of Warcraft and you instantly identify what game it is. Instantly. Because it has such a unique aesthetic to it. And it's very tight, unique aesthetic too. They really have, and when I say tighten up, they've really tightened up the resolutions of stuff. And everything that you seem to wear, everything that you seem to really see in the game now has a lot of pixels in it, has a lot of resolution with it. Looks really nice. And a lot of other games, even games which probably look prettier than the World of Warcraft, can't really say that. A lot of them kind of skimp a little bit on some of the resolutions so they can get more on the screen, and certain aspects of the clothing and the garments that they wear look a little bit low res compared to some of the high res stuff that they've got on, and it does look a little bit off if you have a proper look at it. From a distance, fine. Nobody's going to notice. But one of the things in an MMORPG, especially when you do a lot of dress up, a lot of transmog, glamour, whatever you want to call it, changing your outfits on a regular basis with the gearing aspect to it, a lot of people do like to go up to other characters and have a good old inspect of them. It's a little bit intrusive, but, that's just the nature of the beast. As my telephone goes off. Let's just put that on mute. Thank you very much indeed. And then another element is, it was very apparent that Blizzard are attempting, and I don't mean this to come across as a backhanded compliment. I feel it may come across as that, but I'm sorry. they are trying to introduce more storyline elements to the game, but I do believe that it's a kind of hit and miss. Now, so it is a commending element to actually have new storylines put in, and I know they're doing it for each class, and I think one of the things Blizzard actually apologized in a recent Q&A about, from what I hear, is the fact that they had touted 7.2 as the biggest content patch that ever released. However, the content itself was spread out across the 12 different classes. And so if you only played one class, then you were only getting a 12th of a lot of that content. Now, people were like pushing me to do the Anduin quest line, which was short. I'm not going to say sweet, because I thought it was a bit flat, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't find that there was really any... And the reason I'm not shitting on it, it's just that I don't feel that there were really any genuine sympathetic traits in Anduin. He was rich. He was a prince, now a king. He had a wonderful life, a sheltered life. And it's kind of like, oh, woe is me. I have all these wonderful things, but I've never experienced the horrors of war. And it's just like, oh my God, I couldn't find any sympathy in myself for Anduin whatsoever. So when he picked up the sword at the end and grew a unibrow, I was kind of like, well, I'm more inclined to be sympathetic for what you do forward than this bit, because this bit all felt very like a pity party and self-pitying, and I didn't care. I've got other things to deal with in my own personal life than to feel pity for some rich brat. So sorry, all the people that did all your crying reaction videos to Anduin picking up a fucking sword and overreacting to all of that shit. It was just a very mediocre bit of storytelling. And the storyline in the Demon Hunters Order Hall was, again, a bit of a damp squib. There was nothing really different that we'd been doing prior to this. Sorry, I know I'm going into the positive sides, and I'm being a little bit negative here. But what I'm trying to say is, it was good to see them attempting to introduce storyline, but the point is, storyline shouldn't be used as a treat, is what I'm trying to get at. It shouldn't be used as a dangly carrot. Hey, look, we're adding a little bit of narrative into the game. Narrative should be a flowing, continuing thing in an MMORPG. And I don't think that Blizzard, especially in the last couple of expansions, because they have in the past, I gotta stress that they have in the past. I didn't believe the narrative in MOP was very strong. I know some people are going to disagree with that, but I didn't think the narrative was personally very strong. I had no sympathy for the Pandarans. I couldn't give two fucking hoots about what Garrosh was up to. He came across as a character that was attempting to be redefined in Cataclysm, and then in MOP it was just thrown to the fucking winds, and they decided, oh no, let's just make him a typical villain. And a couple of extra layers which had been brought to Garrosh for Cataclysm were done away with, and that really annoyed me, because I thought Garrosh could have gone in a very interesting direction. So MOP didn't titillate me storyline wise. Warlords of Draenor was just a fucking joke, but I've got a video coming on that. Yes, I have one more WOD video in me. And it is about story. MOP was just an absolute shitstorm of story. And to be honest with you, Legion hasn't had a story other than the Legion have invaded. There really hasn't been that much of a narrative going through Legion. Now, some people may want to say, what are you talking about? As the story everywhere? Is there? If you really look at the storyline of Legion, it's just the Legion are invading. And that's it. Now, we have had the Suramar stuff, and I'm just keeping the Suramar stuff slightly separate because I want to talk about the Suramar stuff in a different way. Because the Suramar stuff was designed to be a narrative-driven zone, as opposed to a zone which you level up in, and a lot of people aren't really giving two shits what's going on, because the narrative which draws through those zones are very weak, because the narrative tends to be, we need you to go to this hub and do this work for this very important person that we're trying to bring across by going out into the woods and collecting 6 furs and 10 foxes' penises and some grass, and it just doesn't work as narrative. It's daft. That's not how narrative works. I mean, you look at how other MMORPGs are pushing their narratives and how important the narrative is to go through the whole MMORPG. It just makes kind of like this boring questing look even more dull and boring. But that's by the by. But Suramar was designed to be a narrative-driven zone, and I think for the most part, Suramar has been very successful in that. I'm somebody who has personally very much enjoyed Suramar. Now, it's okay for people to like one form of content and not like another form of content. I'm absolutely not saying that an MMORPG needs to produce content, every singular piece of content that everybody's going to like. That's never going to happen, because we see with some of the YouTubers today, some YouTubers that we have that are very successful are simply raid-centric YouTubers. They are elitist elitist game players. All they're bothered about is getting the biggest Titan-forged, gem-procced gear and killing the toughest bosses on the highest difficulty. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there is nothing wrong with somebody that wants to pick up an MMORPG and have a beautiful narrative story told to them that they can get immersed and enjoy. And to be honest with you, I think Legion's fallen very flat on that. It came out with a lot of bells and whistles about, look at all these demons that you've fought before, but nothing's really happened. Nothing's really developed. It's just demons. There are just demons and demons and demons and kill demons and demons are dead and pick up demons and throw demons and then put demons down and hit them again and kill demons. There isn't actually a really decent storyline going through. We've got the pillars of creation. Wow, we've got 4 pillars. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Now I've got a house. What? I know. I don't. What man will do that? I don't fucking know. So yeah, storyline elements. Although it's good to see more of, they've got to be a little bit more relevant. It can't be, like I said before, it can't be utilised as a treat. Oh, look, you get a treat in World of Warcraft, you get a little bit of narrative. It should just be an ongoing, flowing thing in the game itself. I can't believe that was actually a positive. Right. Now, to go alongside this, there are some considerable negatives that go alongside this 1 week in WoW as well. Although the last one was definitely came across as, you know, it was a compliment, but it was also a criticism as well. It was a compliment that we're attempting to bring more narrative in because they have been very strong, but obviously I think they failed for the most part with the narrative. But one thing on returning to the game, which fuck my face, this game it could just, oh god, just. The external world content in WoW is just the biggest piece of shit I've ever played. Honest to God, even going back to for a week, it's mind-numbing. And that is a compliment. That is the biggest compliment I can get. It's just fucking mind-numbing. This world quest business and this repetitive grind is abysmal. Now, I have got to say 2 major points here. Number 1, I cannot believe in any single solitary capacity that WoW developers that make the external world content are fucking playing it. I cannot believe for a minute. And if they say they are, I reckon it's only for a couple of minutes a day. And if they say they're doing it for more than a couple of minutes a day, then I'll probably call them a fucking liar. It is abysmal. Just nothing short of abysmal. The world quests are dull as dishwater. And not only that, it's just repetitive. Everything is just repeated. From the very start of Legion, and one of the reasons why I personally left was, like I said, I just felt as if I was going on a treadmill of this mundane content. Nothing brand new was coming into the game. Very few things WoW introduces into the game are brand new. That's one of the reasons why I really tagged on to that Withered Army training, because it was something different which they'd put in the game. And so I really focused my efforts on doing some really good Withered Army training videos, and I got some wonderful support from people like Soda popping with them and stuff like that, because you could tell the passion, you could tell I fucking loved it, and you could tell the enjoyment, you could tell I really wanted to break it down, because it was something brand spanking new in the World of Warcraft, and so I just jumped on top of it. And I'm not saying all the world quests are shit. I'm not saying all of them are, But look, 95 fucking % of them are. There's only a very small amount that there's something a little bit different. Normally, the Kirin Tor quests are just a little bit different. And they've been quite enjoyable with the little puzzles, or the zapping through the sky, or the jumping between balls. Ladies, the Kirin Tor stuff has actually been relatively good fun for a world quest. In actual fact, I kind of feel myself drawn, I would at least feel myself drawn to do a Kirin Tor world quest than any other. Because all the other stuff is just mind-numbingly fucking dull and repetitive. And so I'm already, when I'm trying to do the external world content, already just feeling why I left the game in the first place. I'm already feeling that weight of this hamster wheel. I feel my legs are starting to move and my quads are aching with the lactic acid because I'm just going around this fucking hamster wheel of dailies. And I can't be bothered. But the worst thing was, upon returning, this wasn't just the hamster wheel. This was the goddamn mother of all grinds. This AP grind is just... Shoot me. Shoot me fucking now, somebody, please. I couldn't believe it. And the rewards that they offered, the very first one of the brand new completed weapon artifact grind fucker, was like, it's pretty decent. Oh, look, I get 10% extra damage and I get 20% extra armor and stamina or something. And 10% extra this and that and the other, and you get a blowjob, and it was all very nice. But then everything else is just like, now you got to grind 10 million artifact power so you can have metamorphosis for half a second longer. And you're just like, fuck you in the ass, mate. Fuck you in the ass. Why the fuck would I bother with this? You have to have some real dedication to this game to be remotely interested in any of this grind. If you're trying to encourage new players to come to the game, no, it's never going to happen. How the fuck is anyone going to give a shit about this? Well, yes, if you join the World of Warcraft, it's great. You get to top level and then you just fucking grind artifact power all day, every day. Who the fuck is going to care? And then if somebody turns around and says, yeah, well, okay, I don't want to do that. What else can I do? Apart, I've done my raid this week. We've established that the instance-based content is good, so don't bring the instance-based content into an argument here, because I've already said that is strong, it's as good as ever. I'm talking external stuff now. And they're just like, well, I don't really want to do an artifact power grind. I've done my raid and I've done the dungeons, and that's great. I don't want to do any more of that because I don't want to burn myself out on those as well. And I don't really want to do this artifact grind because it's very dull and it's very boring. What else can I do? Well, you can grind nether shards instead now. But you don't... Sorry, you must have misunderstood what I said. I know that they are, in essence, two different things, nether shards and artifact power. But you see, I don't want to do that awful grind. So just because it's got a different name doesn't make it any fucking different. So it doesn't matter whether it's artifact power or it's nether shards, or... It even got to the point where I suddenly... marks of syntax were given to me to grind. And I was just like, fuck this, I'm out. And when I tried to stream last night, I think I spent the last hour of it literally just ranting, because how could I ever give a flying fuck? How could I ever give a flying fuck about this content? Grind. Where was the break? Where was the content which adds the levity to the game? Where was the content that breaks up the grind? Where is that in WoW? And I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit more specific. Where is that in Legion? There isn't. There isn't any sort of like blow-off Trows of the Thunder King. Now you could say, yeah, but you just said it yourself as Wooded Army Training. I'm guessing if you're still playing Legion now, and you've been playing it from the start, you're probably bored of the Withered Army Training by now. You've probably done it so many times. And if you're not running it to get the Fox Mount at the end, or the Fox Mount quest at the end, you've probably done as much as that as you're ever going to do now. Because you don't need to run it for rep, because you repped up to the eyeballs with the Nightfallen. You're not doing it for money because it doesn't give particularly good money. There's way better ways to get money in Legion. And if you're doing it for the funsies, that's great. That's great. But where is the fun content? Where's the relaxing content? Where's the silly content? Where's the Harrison Jones doing something goofy? Where's the treasure exploration scenario, singular scenario? What is the other stuff to do apart from twat stuff in the face and grind? There isn't any. And so if you're trying to do any external world content, it's just like brain splat everywhere. I couldn't do it. I could not bring myself to do it in any capacity. I tried to do the Broken Shore. I was so bored within an hour because it offered nothing different. Nothing different at all. Now, I know some people are going to go, oh, you did this 6, you did this, you returned with all this in mind. You just wanted to whinge and moan. No, I've made my position very clear from the start. I never felt the urge to return to the game. But if a game, an MMORPG, which has a subscription, and it needs a subscription from people to survive, that game needs people. It needs people to come in. Now, if Blizzard are just happy saying, look, this is a 13-year-old game, we've got however million subscribed, let's say WoW's got 5 million subscribers right now, just for argument's sake. I'm not saying that it does, there's no empirical thing, I'm just saying by the rule of thumb. Let's say it's got 5 million subscribers. Maybe Blizzard like, this is a 13-year-old game with 5 million subscribers, we're content to do nothing. We're content to just keep this trickle because we've still got 5 million people playing it. Now, to me, that's not the right attitude to have, because if on a 13-year-old game you still have 5-odd million people playing the damn thing, then to me that says look after them, give them something, throw them a fucking bone, give them something different, give them something a little bit unique. But there was nothing that I found in the external world content that could even in any capacity make me give a shit about WoW. It really couldn't. All the fun elements that I found were in all the elements which the World of Warcraft has always been strong in. It's very, very rare that the World of Warcraft fucks up a raid. Very rare indeed. When a raid comes out, it's normally tight. It's normally a good-ass raid, you know? And whether you're a raider or not, and I'm not bringing LFR into this, I'm not doing any of that business. I'm talking about proper-ass raiding here. If you are a raider, you are in a really good place. You've had 3 raids so far, with the Tomb of Sargeras raid coming up. 4 raids. That's great. So if you're a raider, thumbs up. But Blizzard have got to break away from this raiding is it. Well, for me, anyway. For me to even be bothered to give a shit, it needs to break away from raiding's the be-all and end-all of the World of Warcraft. It's an MMO RPG, and raiding is an aspect of this MMO RPG. And this is why I think a lot of people are finding other games to put their time in. They are starting to find other games because they're wanting different elements. And I play Elder Scrolls Online at the moment. I play Final Fantasy XIV at the moment because each of those games offers me something a little bit unique and a little bit different. Elder Scrolls Online offers me a wonderful exploration experience. The zones are pretty damn big. There are lots of nooks and crannies of hidden chests and all this kind of jazz. Hidden little like, I would say dungeons, but they're sort of like single player things you can go into and kill a little mini boss at the end and all this kind of stuff. There's loads of those scattered around the place. Plenty of dungeons, public dungeons that anyone could just walk into. You can have multiple people in. You can just group up organically or inorganically, or just hang around people's shoulders. You know, there's various different ways which they try and present to you the content, and I get that from the Elder Scrolls. With Final Fantasy XIV, as I've always mentioned, every time there's a new patch, they seem to bring something brand new to the table. And it's a beautiful game. It's got massive depth of content, especially when it comes to endgame. It has a great balance that not everything has to be a fight. Not everything has to be you twatting stuff with your weapon all the time. You can actually do endgame content that is in depth and actually takes, you know, a lot of your time up if you want to put your time into that. And that's not a bad thing, because an MMORPG really is there to have your time sunk into, let's be honest here. But it doesn't always have to revolve around combat. And you can still get yourself great gear of a top level raider that you gather through hard work that isn't necessarily punching things in the face all the time. It understands that there has to be a yin-yang. There has to be a balance between combat, and there has to be a balance between fun or non-combat related content. But with WoW, it just seems to be a one-trick pony. Hit everything in the face, and that is it. Now, I'm not saying that the World of Warcraft doesn't do it well, because the combat in WoW is fantastic. It's one of the tightest, if not the tightest, MMO RPG content combats out there. And I'll absolutely give that a massive, massive thumbs up. But just because it is, doesn't mean that every single solitary thing has to revolve around it. There's very little in the game which offers any levity, any fun, any moments to just breathe, any moments to just go away, still be involved and do something in the game other than standing around Dalaran or standing around in your order hall or wherever it may be, and actually still participating in the game. And that's what I really, really felt was such an obvious thing with the World of Warcraft, and why I felt that my week had been an interesting experiment anyway, was the fact that WoW just seems to be stuck. There seems to be definitely no evolution, and there definitely doesn't seem to be any want or desire to do anything a little bit different, which is very bizarre, because it just means that they're resting on their laurels, and it doesn't mean as if that they're looking to push the World of Warcraft to the next whatever it may be. Whether it be even migrating WoW from their current servers and upgrading the whole fucking package. And I mean upgrading the game graphically, engine-wise, the whole job lot. Migrating the whole fucking thing. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be an easy job, you know. But I'm just saying it's an evolution about where WoW could go for the future. Yes, if they did that, it would cut off a portion of people that run potato computers that can still run WoW. But it seems that Blizz are very happy for that to be the case. It's just like, we don't care about the quality, we just want the quantity when it comes to populace. And if people are happy with that, good for them. But from a personal level, I think it reaffirmed to me, my decision to leave was actually the correct one. And could I get involved in WoW again? Look, I could run some Sunday masses maybe once a month. You know, I could potentially run a Sunday mass once a month, once every 4 weeks, something like that, and bring a Sunday mass back for a little bit. I could do some secret videos every now and again, but the thing is, that kind of stuff doesn't even evolve the current content. To me, the current content in WoW is dreadful. Just, you know, I'm sorry, but it is just dreadful. I found it unfulfilling, boring. I didn't want to put my time into it. And I go back to what I said at the beginning of the video. Shouldn't games be fun? And I just don't see how any developer can look at AP grind, Nether Shard grind, goddamn fucking Cenitax grind. I don't fucking know what that ship's called. How the fuck can any of them look at that stuff and go, well, this is good quality, fun content? I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. So yes, it's been a seesaw, to say the least. And this return for 1 week in WoW. There have been some big positives with the instance-based content being fantastic. That is a positive, people. But the world content being desperately dour and in serious need of some work. Good to see that they're wanting to push storyline. Really good to see that they're wanting to up the narrative. But they've got to make the narrative count. I have to counter that as well. But they've got to make the narrative count. And I think some of the narrative, a lot of the narrative in Legion's been hit and miss. We've had some really poignant moments with the death of Ysera and stuff like that. That was very well done. And I thought the Emerald Nightmare stuff in general was very well done. The Val Shiraz stuff was very well done. Suramar stuff, fantastic. The Nightborn stuff, the storyline, even the storyline which carried on through the 7.1 stuff, wonderful. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful storytelling. But then there's been a lot of wah-wah on the storytelling side too. The class campaigns, for what I've played for the most part, have been very flat, very dull, not really offered. And these were the perfect... The thing is, though, for me, these were the perfect opportunities, the Class Order Hall ones. They were the perfect opportunities to tell something a little bit different. To do something a little bit off the beaten track. But unfortunately, that's not to be. So, yes, ups and downs on the 1 week in WoW. Will I return in another 6 months? Probably not likely. Probably the next time I'd even consider returning would be to have a look-see at the new expansion, whether I get, whether it be through the beta or through the release copy of it. But I don't think, unless 7.3 does something miraculous, and that apparently 7.3 is going to Argus and all that kind of stuff. Unless 7.3 does something completely different, completely drastic, but I just get this horrible sense that they'd go to Argus and you just have some Argus world quests. That just really seems to be how this game would seem to go right now. Right, we're in Argus. What can we do? You can unlock the Argus world quests, and you're just like, fuck you. So yeah, like I said, maybe the odd Sunday mass once a month, or the odd secret video, once every couple of weeks, or month, or couple of months, or whatever. But as a return to the game, definitely not. I think I'm quite happy to be playing other stuff right now. So there we go. Some of you I'm sure will be happy. Some of you I'm sure will be sad. Some of you I'm sure will be mad. And you'll tell me how much of a shit I am and all that kind of stuff. Please do. I promise you I won't care. So if you want to put all that in the comment section down below, do feel free. But I hope that you enjoyed the vid. And if you did, do get a thumbs up. And also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye for now.